Hey everybody, welcome to the fourth installment of Behind the Art series. And as you know, Behind the Art is an amazing series that the Gamma chapter of Newark started to really highlight some artists, some amazing people that actually do the greatest work, which is to be an artist and to be an entrepreneur, to be anything, to be a human. So thank you for joining us again. As you saw in the last three, we have musicians, we have sound work artists, we have artists that just run the gamut of what they love to do, and they want to share that with you. We want to share that with you. And again, Behind the Art really came from the programming that Gamma Zi-Fi has called Check on Me. And it is a mental health focused program on National Suicide Prevention Day. And it highlights, making sure as artists we're mentally strong and we're always checking on each other, hence Check on Me. I know we wish a lot of people would check on us, and without further ado, this next person always checks on me. And just some backstory, I cheated with this one, y'all, I'm not gonna lie. This is actually my team member, my best friend, my brother, Don, and I'm not gonna talk too much, he'll tell you guys who he is. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to Don Krypton.
Hello. How's everybody doing? As Treasure mentioned, Evolution Culture in the building. Don Krypton, spelled as it is, DonKrypton.
Thank you, bro. And like as he mentioned, our brand, Evolution Culture, is definitely in the building. Check us out on Instagram at Evolution Culture. So we're gonna jump right in. My first question, and for this one, I'm really excited to hear your responses because I've actually seen your work. What memorable responses have you had to your work?
Memorable responses. There's quite a few. It's always good to hear from people you don't necessarily know, or people who are just hearing your work for the first time. It's always great to hear that. But the most memorable responses are from the people I know personally, from the people that are closest to me. So the two biggest ones, one obviously from my number one supporter, my mother. She said, I'm proud of you and I like what you're doing. I love what you're doing. So when I see you up there, it makes me proud. And I'm glad you're doing something that makes you happy. That was a great response. And another one was from my uncle. And first time he saw me do one of my YouTube videos, he called me up like immediately like that. I dropped it at like 12 o'clock. He called me 1 a.m. like, yo, you can't be Kev anymore. You got to be Don Krypton. This is you. This is your thing. You got to do this. So this is, I'm behind you. You got to do this now, man. So this is yours. This is all you. This is Kev. This is Don right there. You got to be Don. So those are probably the most memorable ones for me, for sure. People who are closest to me, people who have seen me go through everything and now are seeing me come to the light.
And I love that answer specifically because sometimes we create families for ourselves. Like we're family and we create an amazing family. And those are our chosen family. Our friends are our chosen family. But it's always amazing to me that I think it attributes to why you're so, personally speaking, mentally healthy. Because you have this amazing support system. You've always had it. And you've always had these healthy relationships. So that's amazing. I love that I love that family is the focus of that. That makes me happy. This next one, because we're going to keep it rolling. Again, you guys, we are not going to do these interviews past 30 minutes because I want you to go look at these artists. I want you to go look Don up. I want you to go research Don. Don answers his DMs. He answers questions, you guys. So ask him anything. I want you to get to know these artists and I want you to go have time to look them up. So we're going to be here for a good time, not a long time. So keeping it going. Does the creative process get lonely? And if so, how do you reintegrate socially?
That is still an interesting question. The creative process is absolutely 100% lonely, but that's what makes it good. It's It's something that comes from internally. You can't
Mhm.
necessarily everything, even if you're pulling inspiration from outside sources, you still have to put it together inside you. So it's definitely lonely. It's definitely, it's definitely something that requires, just an alone mental space, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But to be honest with me, I thrive in that. I thrive in kind of an isolated environment where there's kind of no restrictions and I could just kind of go off and do what I want for the most part. But then sometimes I realize it's not relatable.
Mhm.
So that second part of that question, reintegrating, it's necessary sometimes to have your closest people to you, kind of overlook your work just to see if it makes sense, because
Mhm.
sometimes in your own head something sounds good, something sounds amazing, but when you start to speak it or you write it down, it's like, what the heck am I talking about? So um yeah, I believe it's definitely a lonely process. I
Mhm.
appreciate that it's a lonely process, but reintegrating, obviously, you want the people closest to you, to at least the people who understand you, to kind of make sure it kind of filters to the outside world, because sometimes you can't do that on your own. So that's kind of the way that would work. You definitely want to make sure that the people closest to you are keeping you in reality when
Mhm.
you're in your when you're in your zone. Sometimes you're not in reality, so that's the best thing for me.
And you're my friend. You know I'm pull up queen. You know I'm quick to knock on the door. I'm quick to blow up a phone.
Yep,
And
yep.
it's not because I want to be annoying. It's because I know how it is to self isolate. We work with Anthony.
Yep.
Um, and the ism for those out there. And he is a workaholic. He is
Hmm.
that person that can go away for 3 days and come out with an album.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes you got to help bring the person out. So I love that you said, you do have to have those people that keep you grounded in that reality. Because sometimes you can forget just how loved you are, just how cared for you are. Um, so I love that you mentioned that because the past interviews we've had, I think everybody has always had a really, really amazing response to that question. And even had to introspect a little bit and ask themselves, wow, like how do I integrate socially, or do I have to be kind of gently, goaded back out into, social environments. So yeah,
Exactly.
most definitely. That's important. I got my handy dandy little notebook, you guys. That's what I'm looking at. Um, this one I love too. Like I couldn't wait to hear from you with this one. How does art or sound affect your everyday decision making?
Um, Decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm the type that will press a random button on a random radio and I will leave it there. I
Mm-hmm.
can literally, how some people, if they're feeling sad, they have to put on sad music. If they're feeling happy, they have to put on happy music. That's not me. I will literally press play on anything and I will groove out to it all day. I tell you, the best thing I found this year was Spotify. I got some promotion where I got 6 months free, and
Mm-hmm.
man, all I do is hit fresh new daily stuff, and every time I find something that I've never heard before and I love,
Mm-hmm.
and I just let it play. I just let it bump. So that's the biggest thing for me. I can find new music, find great music, find underground music, find something nobody's heard before, and it becomes part of me simply because I allow it to kind of move me instead of me
Mm-hmm.
trying to force my feelings into what I'm hearing. So um, if I have a playlist or something, I don't even have a playlist. A lot of times I have like thousands of albums,
Mm-hmm.
and I just hit shuffle. So one day you'll hear Barry White, next time you'll hear 50 Cent, then you turn around and hear Donnie McClurkin, you turn around and you hear a millionaire. That's me. You're gonna have to get used to it if you go on a car ride with me, because it's gonna be all types of stuff. It's gonna be all types of stuff. So um, music is music is something that definitely keeps me sane. It keeps me grounded. A lot of times, about that mental health. Sometimes you don't want to be stuck in your own thoughts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is always running, always have either an idea or a plan or something. Sometimes you don't want to be in that state. So just hit play, hit shuffle, and let the music move you or move me. That's how I feel. That's what I think.
And okay, again, I cheated, y'all. This is my friend. Um, we are huge music fans. And let me just double back a little bit. Don's a very multi-talented human being. Um, in this space, I think he's going to focus on the writing. That's why he talks about the writing. He is a poet. He is a writer. He writes short stories. He does all that. He makes YouTube videos, and he's not going to tell y'all. So I'm going to tell y'all. Don is a singer too. So maybe if you look him up, you may get a taste. You may get a taste of what he can do vocally as well. Again, he's not going to tell you guys that. I just told on him. And I'm going to tell him a little bit more in this next question, which is, can art be heartbreaking?
Absolutely. That's not, it is heartbreaking because a lot of times you're coming from a place where you just have to get the feelings out. You can't necessarily talk to somebody. There are other times where you write something and it triggers a memory. It brings up feelings that you didn't know you were feeling. So it's like tugging on heartstrings or tugging on stitches. You thought you had healed, but you press on it, it still hurts. It can definitely be heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's absolutely cathartic. It's necessary to get it out. It's necessary to, go through that pain in order to make sure it's completely washed out of you. And but I don't want to get too far. You see me, I'm normally a cool type of brother, but when you think about, just things you've been through, things you want to, how you want situations, and that's a big thing with me. I'm a person that can, you know, bring up many types of situations and imagination. So when you think about how things could have been and how things should have been, or mistakes you've made in the past, and sometimes you just gotta write it out, turn it and close the book. You gotta write it out, close the book, and move on to something else, and keep moving forward because everything in poetry, everything in writing is something you've been through. If you don't want to go through that again, sometimes sometimes you have to. Sometimes you just have to go and put it on paper and try to move on.
And I think it's like, for me, a lot of my pieces are very, very personal, but I always said they were personal, but written from the aspect of someone looking at it on a parallel street. And that's because, so a lot of the times when you're performing, because everyone knows I do have a background in theater, when you perform, you have to take yourself out a lot of the time, or you'll be emotional mess. And I think a lot of the time with poetry specifically, because we both have that medium, you can sit there and break your heart again performing a piece, or break down into pieces again performing a piece. And the people don't know it, the audience doesn't know it, but you know it, especially when it's something that is very personal. So when I began writing again, I decided to really face things head on as far as personal, and not be written from somebody looking from a parallel street, but really from someone looking at it from this, like, the healing place. Because when you look at it when you're writing it, it's very personal. But when you perform it and you take yourself out, it's almost like an injury every time you perform it, because it's like you're taking yourself out, but you're still putting yourself in. It's a very weird, like, dichotomy type of thing. And so the fact that you said, yes, it can be heartbreaking, but it's needed. It's necessary. And I think until I came to that point, I didn't know how necessary it was until I started, like, doing it again. And this question, my favorite, because you are so multi-talented, you do so many things. And again, go look him up, go find out what he does. If you weren't doing this medium, so let's choose poetry in your aspect. If you weren't doing poetry, what medium would you choose?
Man, that is an interesting question. Because that there's so many branches to that question. Let's just say at this point in time, if I couldn't do poetry, I would absolutely, be doing rap. Let's say if I didn't get into poetry at all, I would definitely, dive. I'm an IT professional. Just put that out there. And I would probably dive even more into computers, get more certifications, things like that. That's something I would do as well. And, that's kind of cathartic as well because I like working with my hands. So, building computers and things like that, that's what I do already. So taking that a step further, maybe turning that into a business, that's probably something I would do. If I had done a little things a little differently happened in life, I would definitely be playing basketball. That's something that I love to do. Did I say I was good? No, but I like to play basketball. I like to play for sure. I'm a 6 foot black man. I got to be up near the rim somewhere. But that was fun, and taking it even further back. One of my dreams was to be an engineer, an aerospace engineer. Work on rockets and stuff like that. I know I can always still go back and do it if I wanted to, but that would be something if I like I said, if life turned in a different way. Remember I said before about imaginations and how it could have, should have.
Mhm.
You know, that's kind of going back to my childhood dream. I would still love to be, an astronaut. My first love before poetry, before basketball was space. So,
Mhm.
um, absolutely, if I could go back and go on the path of being an astronaut, that's probably what I'd be doing as well. So. I probably would do a million things. I'm still young. We could still do a million things. So you
Mhm.
may see me doing some of them things in the future. Why not?
That is probably one of my favorite questions that I ask because everything is surrounding art. Everything is surrounding everything that you just mentioned is still art. Building, working with your hands. As you guys saw in the past interview, our first interview with Radicule, he would have been an architect. Everything is still art. And I think that's so important when you talk to artists and you talk about maybe, I love to say it all the time. I think I was, a 1920s jazz singer in my past life. I think I was, and then people find out, oh, Treasure has a pilot's license. They're like what? Like past life. And it's always interesting to find out just what people, would have done or what their dreams were. And you said it, you can still do all of those things. So we may see all of those things. Who says you can't drop a poem in space? Like who just says that can't happen? This is absolutely my favorite part of this interview series. And Don knows what's coming up. I want you for these last couple minutes to do a healthy flex. One, include where we can find you all over the webverse. And two, I need 2 healthy flexes from you.
Oh, you need two help. Okay. Let's see.
So first, where can we find you?
You can find me literally by my name, DONKRYPTON. You can find me literally everywhere by that. I almost have a monopoly on the name. Somebody on YouTube who has less followers than me, so I'm kind of pushing him out the way. But you get at this point that one healthy flex number one, you can actually Google that name and find my social media profiles first. You'll find my Facebook and my Instagram, the Don Krypton. As soon as you search that, boom, you're getting in contact with me. Um, as far as another healthy flex, I think you know even though I did go through a low period in life, right now is probably the most happy that I've ever been, simply because of the support system I have, and it's gotten even better because I've found an entirely new support system with a culture, and that I'm able to do things that make me happy, and I'm able to have fun and make money at the same time, and that is what that's the ideal position in life. I
Mhm.
love building computers. I love fixing computers. I'm making money doing that. I love doing poetry. I love, rapping. I love putting on the stage. And I like, being kind of still being in the background and still helping things move around. I do a lot of things in the background. Anything you see Evolute culture, I'm in the background somewhere taking care of it. So I love doing that. I love being in the background. They call me the GM. Treasure gave me the nickname the Renaissance Man. I do a little bit of
Mhm.
everything, so um, that's probably what I'm able to do what I want right now. I'm not forced to do anything. Um, Everything that I'm doing, I'm loving and I'm having fun with it, and we should all aspire to get to that point in life. So
I love
that's my
that.
second healthy.
And then that's my second healthy flex. That's right. The point of these healthy flexes, guys, so the audience just explain to you a little more, is everyone should be able to say something really, really nice to themselves. Whether you wake up in the morning and just say, I'm blessed today, whether you wake up and say, I look good today, anything is a healthy flex. So I want to just get into the habit of doing these healthy flexes at the end, because these artists deserve their own flowers. We deserve to be our own flowers. We need to grow our own gardens. And I think the lesson to end this series is there are no limitations. The only limitations there are the ones you make. And there are set boundaries, but healthy boundaries. And with that being said, I just want to thank you, Don, from the bottom of my little heart. And as I say at the end of all of them, at the end of every interview, be grace, see grace, have grace, so you can just do grace. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And yes, we got a lot more coming up for you guys. Thank you. Bye, Don.
See you later. Be safe.